Welcome back to the Sacred Arts channel, where we talk about all things from the sacred to the practical. I'm so excited today because Lindsay Leigh, is that how you say your last name, Leigh?
Yep.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, perfect, perfect.
Lindsay Leigh has a very familiar story that we can all identify to. She went from a burnout overachiever in corporate America to shining and thriving in a spiritual coaching and consulting business in a chance encounter that led to her explosive spiritual awakening. She reconnected with her psychic gifts that were once turned off in childhood. Lindsay is an ICF certified life coach, trained advanced intuitive reader, channel, and source energy healer. She now uses her own transformational journey from fearing her own gifts to embodied intuitive empowerment, where she guides, mentors, and advises clients across the globe to become the next level version of self they've always dreamed they could be. I love your bio because I find it so comforting that there's a different choice. There is something else out there where we can reconnect with who we really are and also remember some of those intuitive gifts. Can you share more about your journey from being a burnt out overachiever in corporate America to thriving in this spiritual community?
Yeah, yeah. I am the typical I was watching a TikTok today about this and they were talking I was like, "Oh my gosh, I feel so seen." But they were talking about just like the millennial, which I am, is the like has just like worked so hard and I found myself like going so hard in every job I was doing trying to do the most and never really feeling fulfilled but was always feeling completely exhausted, not taking care of myself, not taking care of friendships and relationships. And I got to a point where I ended up starting, and again, very common, like starting to develop some health problems, and ended up the last final straw after I had been on like three different, well, I guess if you like three coasts kind of within like a 4 to 5 day period, came back and 3 days later I got COVID for the first time. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, like I have really just like put myself through the ringer. This is a sign that I know I haven't been listening to. And I remember I took 1 day off of work and I worked from home the rest of the time. I should have probably taken a full week off, but like I don't know how to stop. And then I remember I finally sat down. It was like a Saturday morning and I was like drinking my coffee and I just heard this message that was like, "You're done, no more." And I went in, I gave my notice like on Monday morning, which I felt bad because my boss was not expecting it. But I just was like, I'm listening, like I'm done. Like I'm just gonna listen now. And that sort of catapulted me to where I am today.
Oh my goodness, what a story. I got chills just listening to that. What do you think was like the catalyst that allowed you to just surrender? Because leaving a job can be so scary. It's like your income and your safety net.
Yeah.
Like, can you tell us a little bit more about that? Today's video is sponsored by BU Renewed, owned by Heidi Bayer.
It's
Mhm.
BU Renewed has three supplement systems. We have the Stay Sharp system, and everything is a set. So we have a morning formula, which is stage one. We have an evening formula, and everything is designed. They're brain supplements, and they're designed to help with focus, clarity, brain fog, memory. Everything is combined in here. So when you are on the program, when you have a subscription, when you just buy the product and you use it, the outcome is outstanding as far as giving you greater clarity to know how you want to and how you can be the most productive in your day. So we have the well-being system, and our well-being system, we have our stage one, which is the morning formula, and it's our stress support system. And then our stage two is our evening formula, which is the calm, kind of your sleep, getting the best rest. It's your reset. So all of this together is our, everything about anti-stress, anti-anxiety, helping to make you really feel the best that you can feel on a daily basis. All of the ingredients are organic, they're handpicked, and they're all listed on the website as well, so you can check. Everything is proprietary. It's all laid out. There are no hidden ingredients. Herbs are the finest. The vitamins are the finest, and the minerals as well. We have one more system, which is called the Age Well system. Age Well is that we have the morning formula, which is for mobility, joint, helping you to really be, kind of self-support, which is really big for me. And our evening formula, which is vitality, energy, focus, and again, mobility and joints. So all of it is related to the body and to the spirit. So that's what I love about each and every system. Our products are really based on helping, and they work. And it's just everything that aligns you with your day to support your daily practice in what you eat, what you put into your body, what you do physically to help, whether it's yoga, whether it's walking or hiking. It's just a wonderful balance of all of who we are.
Go to burenewed.com today to get your first system and use code SACREDARTS20. Also, like, subscribe, and comment down below for a chance to win your first system today. Just surrender, because leaving a job can be so scary. It's like your income and your safety net.
Yeah.
Like, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Oh my gosh, and you made such a good point. I was just having this conversation around the safety net and like the constant paycheck and all this stuff with another entrepreneurial friend. And I always tell people that, I think people for you will go on your own like sort of journey and spiritual journey just by deciding to choose something different than like a normal paycheck, or like go into business for yourself, because it's a very different approach. But I had felt called to go off on my own and run my own business for several years, and I had tried and not really gotten to the place I wanted, that I felt really safe to step away and leave corporate America. Now, some people, you've heard these stories. Sometimes I like wonder how common they are, but you hear these stories where like, oh, after 3 months I was making double my income, and
Mhm.
I left and I could do all this stuff, or and they just were making all of this money before they ever left. And I kept thinking, well, that's like what needs to happen with me. I'm going to have this side business, and then I'm going to build it up until it becomes um something that I can transition out of my corporate world. And it just like wasn't happening. And I couldn't figure out what it was, but I was in Costa Rica, and I had taken a week off of work. I was in Costa Rica, like on my own, just like really journaling and trying to figure out like when was the right time. And I felt this shift happen, and I was like, oh, now's the right time. But then I got a little cocky, and I was like, well, I'm going to choose now. I'm going to choose, and I want to leave, even though I know now's the time. And now that I'm decided and I've let go of this previous way I thought I was going to have to leave corporate America, I'm going to do it on my own. And then I pushed myself too hard again, and then I got sick, and and I was like, okay, okay, I'm leaving now.
How
But it was,
humbling, right?
I
Those ego
know.
moments are so humbling.
Get humbled over and over and over again, just like throw you, yeah. So yeah, so it was something. I will say, it wasn't just like this bright idea I'd had, or just this message that came one time. It was something that I had actively been thinking of and working towards for several years. But again, I think too, and you might relate to this sometimes, when you're in a spiritual business, or you're using your unique and specific gifts to support and help others, it's not like you're launching a product. So figuring out like what makes you stand out and what you're really good at does take time to figure out sort of like where your sweet spot is. And I think part of me not, jumping into my own business immediately was part of that journey of just figuring out like where can I serve the best? Where can I create the greatest impact? Um, and even when I left my job, I still didn't have it all figured out. It was really a time to like heal and listen and slow down because I had not been slowing down, for years. I had just been, and I don't know if do you know your human design?
Yeah, I'm a manifesting generator.
Okay, I'm a projector. So
Okay.
I can't work like generators and manifesting generators. And so I kept trying to, which would just cycle me into burnout over and over again. So it was just kind of a funny aside to realize like okay, I have to really reframe and rethink how I do business, how I work, how I put myself out there. And yeah, so that was a very long answer to your question.
No, it's perfect. And also, just to add to that, projectors do think and want to act like manifesting generator, which causes even more burnout. And because you're more of like the idea person, and like almost like I think of you guys as like the project manager, like
Yes.
putting the
Like, we're
pieces
not doers.
together.
We're
Right.
not doers, we're guides, we're leaders, we're teachers, we're not doers. And one of my friends at my last job, and we're still friends to this day, we both left the company, it was so funny, but she gave me great feedback one time, and she said, "Lindsay, you're unhappy right now in this role because you're being a doer. You're not a doer. Like you thrive when you're like leading and guiding others. Like this isn't what projectors do." And I was like, "Oh yeah, duh. Of course. Of course that's why I'm frustrated because I don't get to like share and guide. So yeah, it's and that's why I love human design. But yeah, such a good point you made.
I love it. You'd mentioned also reconnecting with your psychic gifts from childhood. How did that come about, and how are you still kind of navigating and embracing these gifts?
Yeah, so that actually happened the end of 2017, and it's the funniest story. I like makes me laugh because again it was one of those like ego check I think a little bit or just like like a little joke from the universe. So I lived in Austin for about 8 or 9 years, and at this point in time I was in Austin, and several friends had recommended this woman to get a psychic reading from, and I was like, wow, they don't know each other, she must be really good if multiple people are recommending a reading. So I went and I looked her up, and she was so expensive. And I was like, "Oh my god, I don't think no, I don't know if I'm gonna pay. I don't know if I can afford this. I don't even know her. I don't know." And then I saw that she'd written a book, and I was like, "You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna read a book. I'm gonna see if I like her book, and then I'll reevaluate after I read this book of hers." Girl, I read that book, and it was like the scales fell from my eyes. I saw everything differently, and it was the catalyst for my spiritual awakening.
Oh my
And
God.
I mean, and it was just like it was this idea of like feeling seen and heard in a way I had never felt before. All of these ideas and principles that were just innately things that I believed she was saying them. And like it was just like mind blowing. But then as I started leaning into this and exploring these spiritual ideas and principles, my gifts started coming back. And for me, this the thing that I think was the scariest was going to sleep and not knowing what I was going to see if I opened my eyes. So my childhood was a lot around things coming out of the closet, things standing next to my bed, beings, hearing voices, um, conversations in my head I could turn up and down like a dial. And not having no idea what to do with it. I would have dreams where I saw the future, like just all of these different things, but I didn't know what to do with it. And quite honestly, going to bed every night was terrifying to me. It took me years to actually sleep in the dark because I was so terrified. But then, and all of that started coming back. And I remember seeing there was a ghost in my house. I remember seeing him standing next to my bed there. And then finally, there was this time where I woke up and I saw four men in biblical clothing at the end of my bed, and I remember I jumped up and I screamed and I just started saying, "No, no, no," and I grabbed the lamp to turn it on because in my mind, if you turn the light on, like, they'll all go away, so I turned the light on, and I remember I ran into my bathroom and I started crying because I was like, "I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to manage any of this." And so I decided, I was like, "This time I'm doing this differently. I'm an adult. I can find resources and help." And so from shortly after that, I found a mentor who was just an angel and helped me. And I started working with different mentors and guides for several years just for myself. I didn't even think at this time I had any gifts. I just wanted to figure out or nor that I could use them with other people. I was just like, let me figure myself out and like understand myself. And then COVID hit, and that's when I started taking courses and classes and realized, oh my gosh, like I can actually do some of this stuff. Like I actually have gifts. Like it took me several years to even admit to myself that I had gifts. So that's kind of the evolution over the past several years or so. Yeah.
That's incredible. And I know that once you realize, not even realize, once you experience something like that, it can be very easy to shut it all down. And because the fear comes in, and now that you have the proper mentorship and you're able to lean into your gifts, how would you say that they've evolved and how are you still navigating that?
Oh my gosh, I love this question so much. Because they do evolve. Like that is one of the things that I don't think people talk about enough is that sometimes I think we have this idea that like people with intuitive psychic channeling, whatever gifts, they just like show up one day and they can do it and they must be really good. Like we see people on TV and they're just incredible. But the thing is that the more you work with your gifts and the more you develop them and the more you do your inner work to clear out old programs and shadow and just stuff like that's still running on repeat in your subconscious, the more you work on yourself, the more your gifts evolve. I have abilities now that I did not have 2 years ago or even a year ago. My ability to access, you know, different things, whether it's channeling, whether it's intuition, whether it's health, like talking to animals, like I continue to sort of like it's almost like I have a basket and I just keep like adding new things to it and I never could have I mean, I would have never been able to tell you several years ago that these would be things I could do. But it has evolved. My ability to channel is even, has strengthened. My ability for how I can do readings for people, mentor people, it's just grown and evolved the more I've stuck with this work and stuck with working on myself, they go hand in hand.
Oh, that's beautiful. And it leads right into my next question, which is around your life coaching business. How do you integrate, some of these modalities into the work that you're doing with the clients?
Yeah. So, it's funny because that was like again, everything is divine timing. It was the very first certification I ever got in 20 and I got it in 2018. So like right before my spiritual awakening happened, I felt guided right after. It was all around the same time. But it started like me just be like, "Oh, I just want to be a leadership coach." And then I started working in this coaching space, but the beautiful thing about it is it allows me to help guide and support people to ask the right questions, to see a little bit below the surface, to help people really um, find their own truth and find their own ability to speak their truth, to step into new spaces that maybe they haven't been able to step into yet, to help them overcome some limiting beliefs and blocks around their gifts. So a lot of my coaching is really focused on supporting the client in developing their gifts, helping them see their vision. I work with business owners as well. And so they know they come to me because I have a spiritual lens on their business. So I call it, there's kind of a term like conscious entrepreneurs. Like it's that sort of idea with the people that I work with. So it really like blends beautifully with these different aspects of, you know, intuition, consciousness, elevation, spiritual business. ownership, all of these things that really weave in nicely when you put coaching in there.
That's beautiful because I know for myself, I spent like 20 plus years in therapy. And while that was helpful, it really didn't start to heal me in a rapid way until I introduced the energy healing. So I had like a whole team. I had like my therapist, my acupuncturist, my Reiki healer, my energy healer, and it wasn't until I combined all of those things um that I really started to up level even faster and heal even faster. And so to be able to have somebody like you that can coach and also provide some of these modalities, there's so much opportunity there for rapid transformation.
Yeah, and I love what you said because basically what you did is you're treating like the body, mind, spirit, you know? You created this team that treats all of you. And I think we can forget that if you want rapid growth and you want to start seeing things, you really have to address that inner aspect, the soul aspect, the spirit, and the body. They're all connected. So that's beautiful. I love how you like created this team to like help you on all levels.
Thank you. I'm curious though, because, when people talk about like spiritual awakening and diving into their gifts, we all think like rainbows, butterflies, being more in tune with our spirit guides and whatnot. Can you talk a little bit about like the common challenges or the misconceptions that people face when we are embracing our intuitive gifts?
Yeah, they think it's gonna be like rainbows and butterflies. Um, so there is a cycle that we kind of all go through as we, I don't know, up level, evolve, and grow. And the shadow aspect is part of that. Because for us to sort of move to another level, we had to sort of release and let go some of these aspects of ourselves that we're not happy with, or that we don't like about ourselves, or we're not proud of, or old patterns that really don't sit right anymore. They're keeping us from sort of like evolving to that next ascension level, or whatever you want to call it. Um and so what I find happens, and almost always this is what happens with the clients. They come in with a specific thing they want to focus on or work on, but then like a month in, 2 months in, they're like, whoa, we're gonna need to go work on shadow work. Like I gotta take a step back. And I'm like, yeah, it's part of it, but we gotta go on this journey because it happens differently for everybody. So part of your part of your ability to access your gifts, your soul's mission, your elevated consciousness that you're moving, all of these sort of ethereal spiritual ideas, in order for you to access higher levels of it, you cannot get there when you bring density, like more dense things with you. So it requires energetically, I feel like I'm sounding very nerdy. I did ask my guides to come through and share some stuff, so I'm like, is this you? But it requires that in order for you to up level or to move up into these higher frequency levels, that you let go of some of these more shadowy, more denser aspects of your energy field. Um, and so that is commonly like a dark night of the soul. And I just went through a really big one that was really long. And I remember being like, what is going on? Um, but I love them. They're really scary for people. We fight them like tooth and nail because we don't want to be in this space. But the beauty about being in a dark night of the soul where you feel listless, you feel like you don't know what direction you're going, nothing makes sense. I tell people sometimes it can feel like you're throwing stuff on the wall just to see what sticks, and nothing sticks. It just is this like you are literally in a boat without any oars, or you're going nowhere. But I tell them always, I said, but this is where like the magic is, because if you just allow yourself to go through this, to flow through this, to receive whatever deeper wisdom is coming through to you, there is always clarity on the other side, always. And if you fight, 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 there's less clarity you're going to receive on the other side. But if you sort of let yourself be, and this is that I'm a Scorpio too. So I'm like, if you let yourself be in the darkness a little bit and to let yourself receive the wisdom that this, dark night of the soul wants to share with you, you will come to this beautiful clarity and evolution on the other side of it. So like honestly, they suck, but they're incredibly potent and powerful, and they are a response to your up level. So you're about to sort of elevate your consciousness, move into higher frequency when you're in this dark night of the soul. So I find them I'm really excited when I hear people are in them, but they are not excited at all to be in them. Like some of my clients right now are in them, and they are just like, can it please stop? So
Yeah.
but I'm excited.
Thank you for going through all that. I mean, I think that explanation was warranted because I just had a conversation with someone an hour ago that is going through a dark night of a soul. So I think a lot of our listeners probably needed to listen to hear that and to kind of make sense of what's happening, right? Because many of the times we might be in a dark night of the soul and not even realize it. We just know that we're spiraling down and there's no life jackets.
Yeah. Yeah, and it feels like that, and that's why, like, I feel like we need to talk about it more because some people, it's like, we've been taught, that like dark is bad and light is good. And if you don't know, something's wrong. And it's like, no, 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 no. Like this is sort of like where everything's starting to let go. You're starting to integrate, like things are starting to come together, but you need that pause so that things can sort of sync up for this next phase. But we don't talk about it. So people just go to the thinking that something is wrong, but it's really not. You're actually like on the precipice of something really amazing.
It's so true. Oh, I love that. I'm wondering what it would look like to work with you. Like, can you just go through what your approach is? What can somebody expect from, your coaching?
Yeah. So we usually spend 3 to 6 months together. For the one-on-one coaching, I like to say 3 months is not going to be enough, but I let people choose it because 6 months is really the sweet spot because we first work together. So when you work one-on-one with me, so actually, I haven't mentioned this, but I also do regression hypnosis in a style similar to Dolores Cannon. Because again, working with like the subconscious and the energy body and past lives, I think can be so healing. So when you work one on one with me, I basically we it's an all inclusive package. So we go in and we do like a deep dive and intake on what your goals are, what the pain points are for you, what you're looking to overcome, work you've already done, courses you like. I want to know everything. And then I will create a roadmap based on what you've told me. And I'll be totally honest, I usually tell them, I said, I'm gonna create a specific roadmap for your first month. But after that, we're going to reevaluate. And within the first month, we typically do a regression hypnosis session. There's a lot of like big breakthroughs and shifts that will happen in just one session. But we start out like digging into sort of what the intake form is like. Then we'll pop in a regression hypnosis session. Then we kind of like start digging and uncovering layers to figure out like how we want to move forward. That's with clients that are usually not my business clients. So the one-on-one stuff is much more of like this inner journey, this inner development. The business will do a little bit of that, but then it's more curated around where they are sort of in the life stage of their business and plugging in that sort of spiritual lens to help them get through blocks, help them look at strategy. I get to lean into my corporate side, that business side a little more with when I work with entrepreneurs and business owners. But I basically, and then everybody gets, I'll do they receive like a reading with me, but I'm also tapping in and giving them feedback based on like what my gifts are sharing with them. So I tap into like certain energies or energies of their business. We look at like longevity. There's so many things that can happen, and every client is very it's very custom tailored to what they're specifically working on, with some of those thematic things coming through, where it's like breaking down old programs, clearing them out, creating a stronger sort of reinforced inner sense of self to help them sort of move towards that next level.
That's beautiful. It sounds like a really supportive program. What advice would you give to someone who's on their own journey of self-discovery and empowerment, but may feel hesitant or uncertain about embracing their intuitive abilities?
Yeah, and I think there can be a lot of fear. So that's another thing that I had fear too, but I think sometimes we can be really scared of what we're going to find on the other side of our gifts. We've spent millennia telling, particularly women, that like being witchy or intuitive gifts are bad, and that you're going to I grew up in the church as well, like you're going to go to hell. Like there's just been a lot of negative connotations collectively that have been sort of infused into this idea of having gifts that are outside of what we see, outside of the physical. And so when you've never had support or guidance, and you don't really know what you're getting yourself into, it can be really scary. And I always tell them to get started by like something small, like start like doing some research on maybe finding a book that you can quietly start to do your own research. Follow people on social media that you feel connected with and that uplift you. But starting small to start seeing where you might find connection with people. I offer a spiritual book club that's for free, just to create community, so that people who are trying to understand their gifts or trying to be in this spiritual space don't feel alone. They don't they That is the biggest thing, is you can feel really alone in this space when you're just starting out, because you don't really have a tribe or a group to really help you feel seen and heard. So I always just say start small. Like it's okay to be scared, but start small so that you can start dipping your toe in the water and continuing to peel back some layers to see
Yeah.
what's there.
Oh, that's great advice. Thank you so much. Where can people find you? How can they keep up with your events and your book club?
Yeah. So I'm mostly on Instagram, at Lindsay Lee Official. And then you can also get connected on my website. I'm lindsay-lee.com. And those are the two main places where you can find me. But yeah, you can sign up for book clubs. I also offer group intuitive development programs. And then yeah, the one-on-one coaching and mentorship is also what I do. And then I do some side consulting with some businesses. So yeah, it's been a fun journey for sure.
Ah, that's amazing. Thank you so much for coming on Sacred Arts and sharing your
Thank
wisdom with
you.
us and everything that you're bringing into this world. It is so much needed. And for our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, give us a comment down below. We would love to interact with you, and I'll see you next week.